Well, John and Amy, thank you so much for taking the time on a Saturday to record this with me because, both of us have a lot going on, but this is something very significant what the two of you have decided to do. You've decided to weaponize the legal system in the same fashion that the globalist elite, the psychopaths, I call them, have been using lawfare against all of us for quite some time. And it's about time. And I want to commend you and I want to welcome you and thank you for taking this stand and showing the world that we're not going to take it anymore, as they say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anne, for having us.
Yes, thank
It's
you.
an honor and a pleasure.
And for recognizing the
absolutely.
significance of this. It's huge and something that potentially affects all of us.
Anti-Defamation League. I want to start here because you've got two lawsuits out there. You've got articles going in Gateway Pundit. I know you've been talking about this in other places, but I want to drill down on this because the Anti-Defamation League has been one of the leaders. They're out there like the Southern Poverty Law Center, as far as I'm concerned, a group of heathens that have just, when you try and reach anybody at any of these organizations, you can't. Nobody answers the phones. It's just an entity that has been created and weaponized against people who are just doing good deeds, good work, and are getting to the truth. And the fact is, they don't want the truth out there. They want a narrative. So anytime you see people doing things that are good and the Anti-Defamation League gets involved, you know it's because those people were actually over the target. They were onto something. So the fact that you are now turning around and suing them, it's music to my ears. And I think this needs to get blown up and carried everywhere. All of my colleagues out there need to be engaging in elevating the story, because we're going to show them through your lawsuit just how corrupt the whole system is. And it's about time they got a dose of their own medicine.
Unfortunately, they've kind of used me as a poster boy, for their smear campaign, along with other really nasty actual hate groups and criminals. And I'm not a criminal at all. I mean, I don't have a criminal record. I've never been arrested in my life. I'm a I was honorably discharged from the Navy, and I had a security clearance with the government. So I'm the furthest thing from what they're saying is me being an extremist or dangerous extremist.
So Karen, first tell me very briefly, or tell our listening audience, when was it that you realized in 2020 that this COVID pandemic had occurred and that there was something nefarious about it?
Oh, I actually remember it distinctly. It was the day before the shutdown. So I think it was March 15th of 2020. I was actually a fitness, as a hobby, I was also doing fitness instructor, and I was at the gym, and it was the last class I ever taught, and they announced that there would be these lockdowns coming. I think they were going to announce them the next day or by the end of the week. And the first thing I thought is, well, we're being set up for a vaccine rollout, and I had guessed that it was going to be Roche and Merck, because they're, and maybe Sanofi, because they're big vaccine companies that would be doing the rollouts. But they went with the most trusted names, which is Pfizer is one of the most trusted names in pharma, and of course Johnson & Johnson, one of the most trusted names, now.
But then they went with Moderna, that had never ever produced any product at all, much less a vaccine.
The relationship between the Ukraine and Russia, I think you have to take account of other things, and it's part of the reason why. Though a lot of folks try to pretend Putin's an idiot and so forth and so on, I think Putin exactly well understood the heart of his people, who are probably very upset at the notion that their relationship with the Ukraine has now become the business of America and the Europeans, and it looks like we're acting in violation of what we said we wouldn't do. Am I making sense?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you go back to James Baker, Secretary of State, and he's talking about how you do this, Russia, we're not going to move NATO an inch. And yet, as you said, we didn't keep that word. And then I've been watching some videos from Putin. And I know, okay, so with a last name like Bobinski, you've got to be Polish. I know a little bit of Polish. I know a little bit of the Eastern German language. I can't speak it, but I understand it here and there. And so when I'm watching these translations from Putin, so he's talking to a crowd or to a group of people, and they got the English translations, I can tell if those are accurate translations. I can't get every word, but I can. Every once in a while, a word pops up. I go, okay, yep, that's tracking exactly what he's saying. Okay, I got it. And so I believe those translations. Like, otherwise, the skeptic in me might say, okay, maybe they're trying to fool me with the translation. Maybe that's not really what he's saying. But I believe it because I know enough, like I said. So I look at Putin and what he's saying to the Russian people. And as a certified behavioral analyst, as a certified motivational analyst for 34 years, I've been working with people and understanding people, and I look at the motives of people. Americans, by and large, are a closed-minded, selfish lot. And when they get into political office, that multiplies. They become so self-centered. They want to just get what they can get. Look at how many people their wealth doubles and triples and quadruples once they get into office. What name an industry where that happens, right? So you have all this very selfish mentality happening once someone gets elected to the halls of our legislature. They're not looking out for the interests of Americans anymore. They're not looking out for the interests of America anymore. They're looking out for their own self-interest, and they're ignoring the motivation of the Russian people, the motivation of the Ukrainians. They're ignoring all those motivations. They're just looking at what can they get and how can they play chess better.
I'll just say this. One of the things, Dave, that I appreciate about your program is you were one of the first shows, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to be kicked off of YouTube. When were you kicked off of YouTube, Dave?
Well, actually, I was originally kicked off in 2014 during a weekend, and then in 2020 I was completely taken off.
Okay, so I'm saying 2014. I mean, that's pretty early to the party of censorship. So I just want people to. I have three big ideas I want to make sure everyone's aware of right now. Is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And this is not a shameless gold commercial, Dave, for your gold sponsor, but this is going to result in probably some gold sales. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they are all teaming up together right now to roll out a new currency that is gold-backed. So for the last 16 years, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, they've been hoarding the earth's gold in preparation to introduce a new gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency. That is their plan. And so right now you're seeing de-dollarization occur at scale. And President Trump the other day, I'm going to pull up this clip real quick. President Trump the other day, he just said this out loud during an interview, I believe it was on Newsmax. And I think it blew the minds of certain people because President Trump understands that de-dollarization is in fact happening, folks. So listen, this is President Trump discussing de-dollarization.
Of our currency. I'm talking about our currency being used throughout the world.
You want it to remain, you want the dollar to remain the world's reserve currency.
Well, I think it's bigger than losing any war. I think if it doesn't, look, we are already reverting to third world status in many ways. You look at our airports, you look at our terminals, you look at our filthy roads and broken roads and everything else. We're like a third world country. We have something that's very powerful, and that's our dollar all over. But you take a look at what's happening to it now with other countries not using it. And, China wants to replace it with the yuan. And it was unthinkable with us. Unthinkable. Would never have happened. Now people are thinking about it. That could happen.
BRICS nations have the oil. They have their natural resources. They don't have to put up with it. And they're not going to put up with it. And remember, 2/3 of those hombres are not buddies, not friends of this constitutional republic we have.
So again, you're seeing de-dollarization is happening at scale. And again, they're trying to move us away from a situation where the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency.